New videos every day.
Hi, this is Chuck Young, and this is the last episode of Lessons of the Paul Campaign. And I'm just going to tell a couple of stories. My mom's dad, my grandfather, he was a real piece of work. He was one of those guys, he was just very big, and he wasn't physically big, but he just had a tremendous sense of theater about everything he did. He had a real big personality. And he's kind of like big for the room, and it didn't matter how big the room was. He just filled it. And he was a very religious man, or at least a very spiritual man. Of course, this is long, long ago in a very different time. And he was deep in the Bible Belt and was at church. And they were going around, giving it up to Jesus. And came around to my granddad, and they said, well, I'm as good a man as Jesus ever was. And I think that was the last time he was ever in church. So I'm not trying to offend you, but let me tell another story, kind of share with you my outlook on things. There was this fan of Bob Dylan's. You can check it out. It's like I think there's a Wikipedia page about it. I don't remember his name. But he was just a little too into Bob Dylan, and he, whatever Bob Dylan thought and the origins of those thoughts and, what Bob Dylan ate and what went into him and what came out of him was all of great interest to this person. And he was so kind of over the edge with it that he was dumpster diving Bob Dylan's house, and the police kept coming and taking this guy away, and it was kind of becoming repetitive. So they asked Dylan after one of these episodes, they asked Bob Dylan to come out and talk to the guy, maybe set him straight, and they wouldn't have trouble with this guy anymore. So so Bob Dylan comes out to the guy, he's sitting in the police car or something, I don't know. And he comes out to the guy and he looks at him and says, I'm not Bob Dylan, you are. I guess that's not a very good Dylan impersonation. But we have a saying in tag, I'm not Ron Paul, you are. Breaking the mindset of demagoguery and assuming ownership, that's the ultimate challenge. There's nothing to say except for you to do it, and each person has to come to their own terms with that and what's necessary to sustain them. If you think you're doing it for somebody else, you won't last. And I've only been at this for 3 years, but I've seen a lot of people come and go, and I'm almost to the point where I can tell the ones who are going to keep it up and the ones who are just going to fold. The people who are oriented on the outside, they're not going to last. It's the people who have some kind of inner drive to do it. And that's who will stick it out. But then the greatest challenge, is putting it together and having a bunch of people in the same room and reaching some kind of consent. Although sometimes the consent is as dangerous as the dissent. It's a tremendous challenge, and they talk about herding cats whenever we talk about libertarian activism, and it always has that kind of aspect because everybody wants to go in 10 different directions at once. The first person plural is the hardest word in libertarianism. We, us, our. But it starts from the inside out. It starts from you claiming ownership of who you are. You look into a mirror and you claim that ownership of you. And I like to think that I've done the same, although it's an ongoing process. And then we work out and negotiate the boundaries and figure out how we can work together. And that's what we the people means. And it'll only ever happen through the process of a lot of people assuming that kind of ownership, but at the same time figuring out how they can also negotiate with each other to actually get somewhere. Because like I've said before, I'd like to see the movement actually move rather than just go around in a revolution. So that's kind of my concluding take on Lessons of the Paul Campaign, and hope you enjoyed it. Come check us out at tagtexas.org someday. Make your own tag, and like I said before, I'm not Ron Paul, you are.